Hi everyone, welcome back and welcome to another reading. This will be the general read for Gemini, for those of you who have Gemini highly aspected. Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, Mercury, wherever you have Gemini in your chart and you're watching this reading for it, this may be your read. If you don't have Gemini highly aspected and it was a title or the thumbnail that drew you to this reading, I encourage you to stick around. There may be something here for you. We all have every sign in our chart, and don't ever let the zodiac sign on the reading discourage you from watching it. There may still be something that you can glean from it. We learn not only from our experiences, but also from the experiences of others. If we're willing to see what we have in common, if we are able to recognize what we have alike and fixate less on our differences, it opens up our minds, it broadens our horizons. And I say all that to say there's a lot you can learn from someone else's experience. I find that these readings have about a 1 to 2 month maturity date on them. So if this reading doesn't resonate right now for you, I'd say give it about a month or two. Give this a watch in August, perhaps early September, and it'll seem more relevant at that time. If you're looking for insight into the July energy, the energy for this month, I highly recommend that you check out the May read that I did for Gemini, or the June reading for Gemini. Just because they were done in those months doesn't mean that it doesn't still apply or that it isn't important. As I said, that energy needs time to mature, and you know what they say, hindsight is 20/20. I hope this video finds you well, and I hope that you're doing well. Let's talk about you. You might be playing the waiting game. Now, what you're waiting for is it'll vary from person to person. For some of you, it's some good news that you're waiting for. It's the answer, it's a solution that you're waiting for. For others of you, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're waiting for shit to hit the fan. It's like you're waiting with bated breath. And tensions are high. When you are envisioning the worst case scenario or the best case scenario and not really knowing how things are going to unfold, it's a very anxious place to be. There's a feeling of trepidation. This is something that, oddly enough, excites you. And I'm not saying that, I don't mean that in a judgmental way, and I think that other people may not be able to understand how being this energetic space makes you feel alive, while also at the same time scares the shit out of you. And it's the fear of the unknown. It satisfies this itch, satisfies this desire that you have, and there is so much optimism. And there isn't anything wrong with being optimistic. There isn't anything wrong with thinking that everything is going to work out. Sometimes it's that kind of faith that gets us there. Where we get into dangerous waters is when that optimism is blind, is when we are ignoring the facts, when we aren't grounded in reality, when we're being willfully ignorant, and these rose-tinted glasses blind us from what's in front of us, from what the world is trying to tell us, is trying to show us, what facts are trying to tell us. The evidence is overwhelming. In some regard here, there's something that's undeniable. There's something that is very real. And we've been talking about this for a couple months. And I don't mean to sound like a dead horse, but the fact that we're still talking about it is there may still be at least a few of you who haven't made that connection. Why? Because the outcome that you want, you may desire it so strongly that you have the blinders on, and it's about, you have this kind of tunnel vision. This is the calm. And I think that you're able to get some kind of rest when this energy matures. And remember, we're talking about from now until, when this energy is maturing, I'd say August, early September, things are moving quite slowly, and it seems like halcyon days right now. You don't mind waiting. You don't mind waiting. You don't mind delaying something here. In a way, it offers you some kind of peace of mind, some kind of tranquility. Ignorance is bliss, as they say. There's something that you are convinced you're being penalized for, and you don't think that you're at fault. And because you don't think you're at fault, or that there's anything that you need to do, you aren't doing things. So you're just allowing things to just be what they are, be as they are. If you don't think that anything is broken, I don't really see you putting forth the energy to try to fix anything. The mindset that you have right now is one where you're willing to cut your losses. But those losses are things that you actually care about. And I don't want to see you be so cavalier about what you're losing. If you're cutting it out, make sure that you truly understand its value. Make sure that you truly understand what you're throwing away. And it'll be okay for a time, when you're in the heat of the moment and when your feelings are telling you that you're the victim. I see you doing this thing where you'll be waiting and you'll be waiting and you'll be waiting, and then the outcome that you want doesn't happen. And then it'll be your responsibility to pick up the pieces. It'll be your responsibility to make peace with what you've sacrificed. You will have to ask yourself those questions, that question about whether or not it was worth it. And you can either ask yourself that question now or later. But what you're not going to be able to avoid is how it'll make you feel. You're not going to be able to avoid those feelings. So it's a question of, do you want to address them now or do you want to address them later? But the fact remains that they will have to be addressed. There will come a time when you'll have to move forward. And don't do that thing where the wave of emotions hit you and it blinds you from what's possible. What's possible is going to require some ingenuity from you. It'll require a fresh perspective. It has something to do with worth. It has something to do with self-respect. It has something to do with accountability. And how successful you are will depend on whether or not you're able to be still in another way. Where do you get your sense of strength and well-being from? Where do you get your sense of security from? Is it in placing blame? Is it in identifying with a feeling of victimhood? Or does that strength come from you owning your mistakes, recognizing the role you are playing, and understanding what your responsibility is? Money is the root of all evil, and it'll make you do crazy things. Materialism is not the answer. Avoid the temptation to attach too much meaning or value to material things. There are some voids that shopping will never fill. There are some voids that all the money in the world will never fill. There are some people who are irreplaceable. There are some opportunities that they're once in a lifetime. Leave the water sign alone. This is someone who is misguided. I think that they have this kind of influence on you, or you have this kind of influence on them, but the relationship is very codependent, and it's a nesting ground for drama. It's a recipe for disaster. And I think it's because of how right you think you are. It's both incredible and sad when we think we have a certain amount of authority, or when we feel as though we're entitled to something. We as a species, those who are unaware or unconscious at least, will tell ourselves whatever we need to tell ourselves to justify our behavior and justify our actions. And it sounds good in the moment because you get what you want for a time. But those chickens will come home to roost if the methods that you employ are diabolical. So the suspense, if you're scared, the way that you remedy that is to do the right thing. And if it's something good that's on the horizon, if you have been mistreated, if you have been unfairly judged, the truth will out, and it's high time that you root these people out of your life. How do you want to be remembered? What do you want to, where do your allegiances lie? I hope you found this helpful. I wish you the best of luck with this energy, and as I mentioned, if this doesn't make sense right now, give it a watch in a month or two. I think it'll hit different then. I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.